Hey Meno Warriors, it's Kate and welcome back to my channel where you can expect weekly videos from me all about menopause, predominantly natural menopause, but I'm going to be trying to serve you all where you are in life right now. If this is the first time you've come across me, I help instill belief in you, in menopausal mamas, that you can have the energy and you can have the confidence and you can be probably even happier than you were before the menopause by following a simple strategy that I've discovered over the years, which has made a massive difference, not just to me, but thousands, possibly even millions of ladies around the world. So it does work, and it's nothing crazy. I share as much as I can about the natural methods here on menopause, but I also talk about mental health. I'm a psychotherapist and I specialize in anxiety, and obviously anxiety is a big thing with menopause. You could also find me on Instagram. There's a lot of resources on Instagram. I'm at Kate Hartley UK, as well as here on my YouTube. So today I'm going to be talking about the history of menopause. I thought it'd be fun to actually learn a little bit about how it came about, where it got its name from, and how many women have been burnt at the stake over the eons of history by being menopausal. There has actually been an awareness of menopause since the Greek times. Men means month and pause means end, and so I suppose it means the end of our monthly cycle. And women have had a pretty tough time, as you would imagine, during the menopause over history. Aristotle, actually, that clever fella, he even refers to the menopause. He reckoned it began at around the age of 40 years. I mean, that's pretty clever, isn't it? Bearing in mind that 50% of women died in those days by the age of 34. So it's incredible how close he was to it. Incidentally, Aristotle died 322 BC, just to put that into perspective. And actually it was considered a natural phenomenon until about the 18th century. The 18th century, I have to say this because I always get it mixed up. The 18th century, 1701 to 1800, because it's one of those things. The more mathematical people will know exactly. I can't even describe why I find saying the 18th century is different to the 1800s, because the 1800s are 1801 and beyond, whereas the 18th century is 1700s, and I always get it mixed up. Okay, right. Over the next 300 years, it became medicalized and considered a disease. Very strange therapies were designed to treat it, as you might well imagine. Among the better ones were opium and cannabis. Particularly during the 1800s, they were used largely. The actual term, or the term menopause, was coined by a Frenchman in 1821. Strange that it should be a Frenchman, but anyway, Charles Pierre Louis de Godin. And he studied biological and mental effects of menopause in women ages 40 and older. And unfortunately, with de Godin's study of menopause, there were also many negative perceptions formed about the condition. And as you could imagine, as the Victorian times approached, physicians believed there was a link between the brain and the womb. Well, they were right. There's a link between the brain and most organs of the body. But it also meant that they figured that when menopause hit, we went insane. I can't imagine where they got that idea up, and they actually used to lock us up in asylums. In many cases, ovaries were removed under the false assumption that women would become more placid and hardworking. One London surgeon went so far as to believe that the removal of sexual organs, including the clitoris, would help prevent women descending into idiocy. I wonder who the idiot was. Finally, by the end of the 18th century, the theory that menopause was related to hormones took hold. And actually in the 20th century, it was really known as the death of the woman. There's a lot of positivity surrounding the menopause, isn't there? The continuity of the menopausal misconceptions increased. So as women approached their 40s, obviously they became menopausal with the fatigue, the brain fog, the lack of libido, and we were referred to as being dead from the inside because we just didn't have sexual desire anymore. We were too tired, and it became a popular expression well into the mid 20th century. And in the 1930s, it was described as a deficiency disease. So consequently, various therapies, delicious therapies, a bit like get me out of here, were advocated. Things like testicular juice, crushed ovaries of animals, really nice stuff. And in 1970, the medicalization of menopause was completely complete. They were ascribed to estrogen deficiency, and that's sort of when hormone replacement therapy was born and extorted as the ultimate liberation of middle-aged women. Obviously, HRT has had its sort of ups and downs. Obviously, nowadays it's a lot safer to take. Back in those days, it wasn't so safe. But, you know, it was the beginning of realizing that it was a hormone-related issue, and that perhaps by introducing hormones, we would be actually able to better get through the menopause by introducing hormone treatments. Merck, M-E-R-C-K, Merck, was the first to introduce the treatment called Ovarin, which is a mixture of shriveled and pulverized cow's ovaries blended with a flavored powder. And then after that came M&M. I always wanted to say it's like M&M, but it wasn't. I'm sure doctor people say it's Eminem. I don't know how to say it. I've only read about it, and I haven't found anybody that actually says it. But that came from the urine of pregnant women, and this apparently became too expensive to manufacture, so they started using the urine from pregnant mares, and that was called Premarin. So by the 1960s, synthetic estrogen therapies were gaining in popularity, but by 2002, that's when the link was tied to the fact that it could increase a woman's risk of breast cancer and heart attack and stroke. So at a time when a woman was feeling the unsettling effects of changing hormones, it's sad to think that centuries ago, these women were often treated as insane. I think actually some of that insanity still holds. I'm sure people who do not want to understand the menopause, it's an easy cast off, well, she's just gone mad. We've not gone mad. We're just not being understood. But thankfully, we have made enormous progress in attitudes about menopause and its symptoms and its treatments. Funnily enough, Western society is still pretty backward as far as treatment and attitudes towards menopause. In Eastern countries, I like Japan and China, it's exalted, and women are treated very differently when they hit the menopause. So I think at least we don't have to be afraid of the menopause these days, because there are treatments, whether you have like talking therapies to help you get through the anxiety and the life changes that come with menopause, whether you follow a natural approach like I have done with a few lifestyle changes, just quickly prioritizing sleep, eating relatively clean, not worrying about weight loss, because healthy fats and a good diet as in food, what you're eating, are incredibly important during the menopause. And exercise, regular exercise, is an absolute no-brainer if you want to have a healthy natural menopause. But there are also much more healthy biosynthetic hormones. I don't know much about HRT, so I can't talk on that, but I know a lot of ladies who've benefited from it a lot, and I always suggest, personally, I suggest to try the lifestyle approach first, and if that doesn't work, then obviously you can talk to your care provider about something more of along the HRT or the bioidentical hormones route. So it goes, I mean, we're still dramatically impacted by menopause, and it's still a very tumultuous time for a woman to go through, whether it was all those years ago or whether it's now. I mean, I have to say, thank goodness I'm having the menopause in this lifetime. I wouldn't know if I've been in a previous one. I can't remember it. Well, not on the menopause. I actually think I have been alive once before, but that's a completely different conversation. I was in a completely different part of the world. I do think something's happened before, but talk about menopause, I can't remember anything along those lines. But at least, there is a growing awareness of menopausal symptoms. There's a growing awareness and a growing strength of a body of women that are now talking about the menopause. And I think it's finally filtering through that antidepressants per se, just by themselves, are not the right treatment for menopause. I said in a previous video that antidepressants combined with HRT can be effective, but antidepressants on their own are not an effective treatment for low mood, anxiety, and depression associated with menopause. So become an advocate for your own menopause health. Google the common symptoms of menopause. If you feel that you're really struggling, before you go and see your doctor or your healthcare provider, become familiar with what the common symptoms are and become familiar with what you are suffering with, so that you can go in and you can say, I think it could be perimenopause or it could be menopause. When I went, I've said this before, I was young to go through perimenopause, and it wasn't even mentioned when I went in, but they were quite happy to give me antidepressants, which thank goodness I never took. But what if I had? So we do have to advocate for ourselves, but there's a lot of information out there, and I hope that what I share is helpful to you too. If you found this helpful, if you've not already done so, please could you give me a thumbs up? Make sure to follow so that you don't miss future episodes. And if there's something you want me to talk about specifically, just send me a message and I'll make sure to include it. I obviously won't share who you are. I'll keep it anonymous unless you want me to. But you know, if you've got something you want me to cover on a Menopause Monday, just message me. And remember to come and find me on Instagram at Kate Hartley UK. I share obviously menopause related stuff, but all sort of lifestyle things which are going to help you get through the menopause naturally, and I hope that I can be of assistance to you over there too. So thank you so much for your company today, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.